Councillor Cashmore.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Like my colleague, I also congratulate you on the work. It's been good to see some consolidation and consistency across council, especially as that transfers back into the private sector for development, so they actually know where the goalposts are within the system, and that is great work. The cost benefit's going to be very interesting to see how those qualify and quantify as we progress forward. And my question would be, how are you going to measure that, and how are you going to future-proof that as engineering standards change, systems and structures evolve?
Through the Chair, we've got a 3-year programme of work, but what we're actually developing is capital assets. So we actually have an asset management plan for those technical guides. The staff training that I mentioned earlier is actually about the ongoing change rather than trying to train them up. And having the capital programme means that we'll have this ongoing review of when things change, to make sure that we do keep up and that our documentation, our guidance reflects that. And again, that's actually one of the benefits of working with industry and having the experts in-house, is that we've always got people who are going to be aware of what's happening as it changes.
Thanks. Collaboration is strength, definitely. Oh, great to see the CISO. I managed to get through biosecurity, another miracle.
Member Taipari.
Kia ora, Madam Chair. Strongly support the intent, what's being proposed here, and particularly we have seen for many years the effects of infrastructure development and the likes on Māori interests, particularly where Māori have contributed significantly throh Aotearoa to infrastructure. So I look at the deliverables, I look at the objectives, but what I can't see is where Māori have been included in that perspective, and I don't mean just in terms of their initial engagement and feedback, but actually right through the program that you're putting forward. So I'd strongly recommend that approach be taken, that Māori are included as perspective to engineering and the infrastructure, and hopefully you will adopt that.
Through the Chair, if I can respond to that, absolutely. One of the joys of developing the detail is that it very much helps us to embed the full council vision into the detail of the documents. But each of our framework and our documents will involve. There are some things that we're doing, for example, in the Southern Initiative. There'll be all of the mana whenua concepts. Having that detail is a really good way of making sure that we actually capture stuff and that it happens on the ground.
Thank you.
Councillor Crum.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. This definitely does fit squarely in the auspices of business improvement. So thanks for your enthusiasm. Just picking up on the language as you do throughout your presentation, focus on immediate high-level risks, high-risk assets. So you're listing contaminated ground dams, landfills, and so on, coastal. If we used our traffic light analogy, so the green, orange, red, definitely high risk. Where are we on that spectrum? Very red. I mean, you're listing it as high risk, and is what you're hoping to do here in terms of improving technical skills of staff related to this risk management, or are we on another genre?
Through the Chair, risk is, in my terminology, risk is what could happen as opposed to what is happening. So I'm looking at high risk things and thinking, how do I stop them happening, as opposed to things that are actually currently red, amber, green. I'm looking at the things that might go red in the future. They're probably all amber at the moment. But I'm looking at them and thinking, how do we make sure, just from that technical input, that we don't have them go red? It doesn't relate to staff skills at all. It really relates more to making sure that for those high-risk assets, we've got a way of catching decisions relating to them early and making sure that they're the right decisions. And that's about things like having a gateway process in place, having design guides in place, and having minimum standards for other people who might be doing stuff for us.
So there's no forewarning here, there's no early alert for us. It's just simply going through.
It's going through my interests, I think.
Right, thanks.
You, councillor
I'll-
Dean, sorry. Welcome.
Yeah, look, apologies for being a minute late. Can I just pick up on where we left off, Councillor Crumb's question? So the signal back to the elected members is we have to do this. If we don't, you increase risk. So we should be really clear on that. We need technical competence, we need strong leadership. So in that point, in that context, it's not about things that might happen. If we don't do this, they will. So I want to make that really clear. This is a very strong emphasis from us within the business.
Thank you. Councillor Darby.
Thanks, Sarah and team. In 2011, I remember Auckland Transport making a presentation to us about their role in Auckland and the importance of the domain that they have control over, and the importance of urban design coming to the fore in all of their work. And at that time they had some 800, 900 employees, and I then asked the question, so how are you resourcing urban design coming to the fore in your organisation? And I guess I had the answer. I said, and does not your organisation only have one urban designer? It's now got 4, I think, which is a 400% improvement. And I guess I read this and I think it's a really interesting step. And I asked myself, you know, how is a culture of innovation sponsored deeply within your teams to allow that to come to the surface and not be too hunkered down or boxed in by you know, efficiency and infrastructure, as you said, Sarah, allowing the other thinking, the thinking that hasn't reached the organisation yet, how you expose yourself to that. How does that occur? You know, how many environmental engineers do you have amongst your bevy of experts? That would be my question.
Through the chair. I think starting point is again, a lot of this comes back to collaboration across council and collaboration with industry, because we do have a lot of experts. We have some industry recognised experts in a number of fields, and that's great, absolutely great. But we don't have them all, and we don't have all the ideas. Those ideas are coming at us all the time from elsewhere in New Zealand and from elsewhere in the world. Because, yeah, people innovate all the time. New Zealand is an amazingly innovative country. There's a lot of people inventing things here, one of the most innovative countries. There are people inventing, you know, I've invented a new way of sediment control. What do you think of it? It's really important we engage with those people, but from that very starting point, it's really important that they understand in technical language what we're trying to achieve as a council. So it really is all about that collaboration and making sure that we've got the right people in the right rooms having open conversations.
So just to explore that a little bit, because it is important for me, if I just use the comparison with Auckland Transport, urban design is really important, but it took them some time to wake up to the fact that they needed to embed that knowledge within their organisation and also collaborate externally. So I guess my question to you, and I just really want some assurance that that equivalent, you know, that environmental knowledge is embedded within your organisation. And just as Auckland Transport has got a whole fleet of traffic engineers, it also needs to have urban designers, and they're getting there. So my yearning is that your teams have embedded within them all that environmental engineering knowledge as well, and not just be reliant upon externals, you know, on a contract basis.
Through the chair. Yeah, So I'm a civil engineer from the UK perspective, which basically means non-military. It does. That's where it comes from. So my entire experience, for example, has been in the water field with adaptation, with climate change, with coastal, with estuaries, with natural environments, and then with geotech and soil, because they're natural too. My team's made up of structural specialists, environmental specialists, contaminated land specialists, contract specialists. We've got a massive variety of people, but we're pulling in people right the way across council. We've got a water sensitive design champion who's come out of the stormwater water sensitive design area, and we're sharing her with stormwater. We work very, very closely with people like Environmental Services Unit to make sure that we pick up the people that we need, because getting the right technical outcome doesn't just mean getting the right engineering outcome. It means getting the right science, the right architecture, all through collaboration.
Okay, thank you.
Sounds fantastic, and nice to not only have a chief engineer that's a woman, but several others that you were mentioning. Amazing. Any other questions or comments? Councillor Wood?
Yeah, just in relation to sedimentation, that's always a kind of an issue that is not easy, and it's not easy to find the right people. Do we have people in-house that are experts in sedimentation control and monitoring? And or what's our procedures in relation to that aspect? Because I mean, a lot of consents are based on, sedimentation control, and it's a very difficult one in the community when people see, yellow-coloured water running down streams and that when it rains.
To the chair, yes, our council does have sediment control experts. There's one that we're particularly dealing with, a lady again in Environmental Services Unit at the moment. But that collaboration picture, the upper one of my 2 dissemination pictures, was the launch of the update of TP90, which is our technical publication that's used for consenting for sediment and erosion control for infrastructure, so construction sites and long-term infrastructure. That was us going out to industry at the start and going, okay, we've got an existing document, tell us what's happened since then, tell us what about the innovations, tell us what needs to change, tell us what hasn't worked, to make sure that we aren't just sticking with council experts, to make sure that we've got enough people in-house to be able to direct our document, but that we're asking everyone to make sure that we get something that works for everyone.
Okay, are these people that qualified to the extent that they're able to, represent council in resource consenting and environment court activities?
Yes, through the chair.
Thank you.
Doctorates normally.
Sorry?
Doctorates and field experience.
Thank you. That was very exciting to hear. I'll move that we receive the report, and personally like to thank you and Claire and Dean. That's the sort of performance improvement updates that we like to hear. Certainly working collaboratively and saving money. Great. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favour? Aye. Against? Carry. Thank you.